Plenty of knockouts among top picks to consider this weekend. The UFC returns to pay per view on Saturday night with UFC 293 card headlined by one of the sport's best defending his world title.
The main event features Israel Adesanya making the first defense of his second reign as middleweight champion when he faces Sean Strickland. Strickland got the call to challenge for the belt when top contender Dricus du Plessis was not available for the card. With Adesanya tabbed as the headliner for the Australian-hosted event, Strickland was the next man up and accepted the fight. The rest of the undercard features more fighters from the Oceanic region looking to make a statement.
Knockout artist Justin Tafa is back when he takes on Austin Lane in a rematch from earlier this year. The two met in April, but a brutal eye poke from Lane moments into the fight resulted in a no contest as Tafa could not see.
Elsewhere, fan favorite Tyson Pedro is back in a light heavyweight contest opposite Anton Turkalji. And rising light heavyweight contender Carlos Ulberg takes on Dawon Jung in the preliminary main event.
The rest of the card is unusually weak for a UFC pay-per-view, but should still provide a good amount of action through fights that all have a high probability of being finished before the final bell. As with every UFC pay-per-view event, there will be plenty of action at sportsbooks around the country. As always, we are looking at each main card fight to identify the best bet for each bout. After a 3-2 result at UFC 292, our record for the year now stands at 24-23. Let's take a look at what we've identified as our choices for the best bets on the UFC pay-per-view main card. Tyson Pedro vs. Anton Turkalji. This is not a great light heavyweight pairing, and neither guy is all that reliable. That said, the standout stat here is that Turkalji absorbs more strikes per minute than he lands in his UFC career. Pedro isn't an elite light heavyweight by any means, but he can hurt and finish opponents on the feet. There's some temptation to just take the Pedro moneyline at 105, but let's take a big swing and assume that he'll be able to catch a big swing and assume that he'll be able to catch a big shot that hurts Turkalji, taking advantage of Turkalji's ability to be hit. The possibility exists that Turkalji just tries to take Pedro down and grind out a win on the ground. Even with Pedro being somewhat limited, he falls closer to the level of opposition that Turkalji has struggled against than the men he has defeated.
Justin Tafa vs. Austin Lane. This fight is running back a fight that ended due to eye poke in just 29 seconds. Tafa also has that nasty more strikes absorbed than landed per minute tag, but that is entirely a product of a fight with Jared Vanderaa, in which Vanderaa landed 121 strikes to Tafa 74. Tafa is the better biter heading into this fight, and Lane has been stopped by strikes 3 times on the regional scene. Fighting in front of his Australian countrymen, Tafa should have a little extra motivation to land some good shots and finish the fight. The only question is if Tafa can close the distance against Lane, who is taller and longer. Manel KPEs. Felipe dos Santos. Are we noticing a trend in these picks? This is all a product of a bizarre card featuring substandard pay, per-view fights.
What's the more interesting pick? Cape's money line is 400. The fight to not go the distance is 230. Cape has heavy hands and does. Santos tends to walk forward swinging, which plays into Cape being able to catch him clean. This is a big step up, as does Santos makes his UFC debut as a replacement opponent. He's never been stopped or even lost, but the circumstances and style matchup don't favor him, so let's take the best available line on Cape winning. Tai Tuivasa vs. Alexander Volkov. It's official. This is the first themed edition of Best Bets. Knockouts for everyone. Again, there aren't a ton of appealing options available for this fight. Tuivasa has backslid with 2 nasty knockout losses in a row.
Volkov has only been stopped once in his fairly lengthy run with the UFC. Tuivasa does have enough power to stop any fight, but Volkov's length and technique present a lot of complicated issues for Tuivasa to solve. Volkov also may be able to gas Tuivasa out before finding the finish.
Israel Adesanya vs. Sean Strickland. Adesanya does occasionally go into cruise control in title defenses against overmatched opponents. There's certainly a possibility of that happening against Strickland, but Strickland isn't going to sit back and wait for rounds to tick away. That kind of face first style is what leads to Strickland getting flattened by guys like Alex Pereira. There's almost certainly a part of Adesanya that wants to prove he can do to Strickland what his biggest rival was able to do. By the way, parlaying these 5 knockout picks gets you to 4,042 if you're feeling frisky.